How to brand the future you. Because I believe that branding is all about creating the future version of yourself today. What I believe branding allows you to do is basically forecast the future and start today with it. And let me kind of paint you a picture. Let's just say that you haven't sold any real estate today. Now, again, I'm not saying that you're just gonna lie blatantly when it comes to your marketing content. I'm saying you can put yourself on a different pedestal because no one actually knows your history. So when it comes to your content on the internet, it's very important to pay attention to the fact that obviously you're not gonna be talking about like how many houses you sold if you haven't sold any, but what you can be talking about is creating a brand that people can actually attach themselves to. Let me give you a couple examples. I know a couple newer agents, brand new, right, where they just got into business, and what we were talking about, because I was coaching them, it was, what do you want to be known for? What kind of person do you want to have following your content? What does the avatar look like that you're trying to target with your branding? Like, if we talk 5, 10, 20 years down the road, what do you want to be viewed as? Well, one of them was like, I want to work with investors. Okay, awesome. I know you work with investors. I want to work with a lot of investors too. Awesome. Well, then what type of content should you be putting out? Well, content that attracts investors, right? Talking all about investment content, right? Like everything to do with buying your first investment property, your next investment property, everything to talk about commercial, flipping houses, wholesaling, everything that has to do with, investing in real estate. That's what they started making content on, and they're getting some great leads from social media. Because branding is more than just a social media post. It's more than just a freaking logo. It's how you want to be remembered by your audience, right? When you're not actually, when you're not in the room, how are people talking about you? That's your brand. You got to think about what kind of brand are you creating right now? Based on what you're doing on social media, on the internet, what does your brand look like? And by the way, you might not have anything out there on social media. What kind of brand are you putting out there in the world? Because you're putting out one, which is just non-existent, and you want to think about how do people now think about you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's obviously a brand that people get from interacting with you, and then there's gonna be a brand that people see on social. They're both important. So you wanna make sure you have a congruent brand throughout everything. The signage that you could have on your for sale signs, the look of your business card, the way your website looks, the way your social media logos look, all of that stuff should be congruent. They all should look the exact same, right? Because what that allows you to do is build a through and through brand, which is basically no matter where people are looking, whether that's in person, face-to-face, or online, they're going to see the same type of content across the board. Very, very important. And this is like things like Apple, like all their content everywhere looks congruent. That's what's so powerful, is that everywhere you look, it's very, very systematic. If you're getting massive value out of this video and you want to work with me personally, make sure you check out the first link in the description down below and schedule your free consultation with myself and my team. So for your brand, number one is your vision. What is your vision for your brand? What do you want to be known for? What do you want people to think about you, talk about you? How do you want people to view you, both online and in person? When they get a business card from you, a letter in the mail, an email, how do you want people to think about you? Like, that's the important thing, because it's not just about like black and white signs. It's all about everything that's behind a for sale sign. What do you stand for? What does your team stand for? How do you want to be viewed? That's what a brand's all about. So when you look at a billboard, think about like, how do you feel from that billboard? Did you learn anything? Is there any value there? How do you think about the person? What does that make you feel about the person on that billboard, right? Or on that ad that you're reading, right? Or matter of fact, even my own content. How do I make you feel when I, like, what is your perception of me? That's a very important point. Like, when you're creating your brand, like, that's what someone's thinking. They're creating their own thoughts about you no matter what. Whether you like it or not, someone's creating their own thoughts and feelings about you. That's what branding is. And obviously you just want to create the branding and that feeling towards yourself. Like, you want to create that obviously in a positive way. That's up to you to create. Let's talk about a congruent brand. That matter, like, across all social media platforms. Your social media strategy, which we'll talk about in a second, should match how your business cards look, how your email signatures look, how your team answers the phone, right? Because if your team, if you're John Smith team, think, hi, this is Sally with the John Smith team. How can we support you today? Everybody on everything should be congruent. If your team's the John Smith team, there should be a logo that matches it. Your website should match it. Your social media should match it. Your for sale sign should match it. Like, everything should be the same. Branding is not just posting a video on Instagram. Branding is a congruent feeling that people get when they interact with you and your company. How do you create that? Let's talk about a social media strategy for a second. Again, if you want to start working with investors, then you should be creating content solely for that type of avatar. If you want to build a massive sales team, then you should be creating content to attract realtors, right? If you want to, start working with luxury sellers and luxury clients in certain areas, then you should probably put out content that they're going to want to watch. Maybe you should be doing sharing local types of market updates and about new businesses coming to the area, new properties that are being built. Talk about the local market. Like, you want to be the local market specialist, right? Depends on who your avatar is. What do you want to attract? Because what type of content you put out, the type of branding you create, that is going to attract a certain level of individual. Where the content I put out on social media attracts a certain type of individual, similar to yourself probably, right? That's the type of individual I'm trying to attract. If I was looking to attract a different type of individual, my content and branding needs to be different. If you want to work with first-time home buyers, what do you feel like all the content should be about? Understanding the real estate process, educating clients on a regular basis of the process behind buying their first property. Like, you want to become the go-to person for everyone in your network, right? For people like that. So how do you, maybe you're adding people to a mailing list that you're gonna be sending out your YouTube content that's all about educating people on, you know, how interest rates are today. Like, it depends on what type of avatar you want to create and what you want to, like, how do you want people to feel about you? Your branding goes way farther than you realize. Do your pens look the same? Your business cards, like your website, have you created any of that? Or do you have any of that working right now? Or do you not, you're just not gonna have any of that? Do you just send people your Zillow profile? Like, what do you actually send people when they say, send me your information? What do you send them? Do you have a pamphlet created, a hard copy book? What do you have to send people information about yourself? What does it look like? How is it created? How is it designed? Your brand is all about the congruency and how people feel when they hear your name. One thing that I would do is that if you do not have a brand right now, the best way that I could say to start is to find a couple people, 3 to 5 individuals that you'd want to model. This is the type of individual that I want to model, right? This is the brand that I would like to have one day. Who are some people that you look up to? Who do people inspire you, right? Like, those are the type of people that I would be looking at right now in order to model yourself after them, right? All these people have specific types of brands that they're like projecting through their content. You're gonna say like, hey, like, well, I want to be just like Grant Cardone or whoever you want to be like, right? That's or Tony Robbins, or, you know, whatever the person is, right? The Rock has a brand. Kevin Hart has a brand, right? Like, all these types of people have a brand, and it's built on the fact that, like, if I just say The Rock, you feel a certain type of way. The way he's built himself, right? If I said some people's names right now, you'd probably be like, ooh, right? Like, you get that weird feeling about certain people, right? Like, that are possibly all over the news a lot. I'm not here to say names because I'm not a really political person whatsoever, but you understand my point. There's people that you don't feel so great about because they have a terrible brand. They stand for things that you don't stand for. What do you stand for, and how can you promote that out there so people can relate to you? You want to be relatable. When it comes to video content, I'm going to break this down for you because it has to be, and again, right now, especially in this day and age, a large percentage of your content should be video based. If you want to educate people, if you want to have a powerful brand, 80+% of your content should be video based right now. Of the content you're putting out there, make sure a percentage of it is also very personal content. You want to have personal stuff out there. You don't want to just be some polished guy or girl who just has, you know, a bunch of content educating people, but people don't even know who you are. Share your story. Who are you? Why did you get into real estate? What makes you excited to get up in the morning? Like, people want to get to know who you are. What do you stand for? What's most important to you? What do you value? That's why people will follow you. Speak your mind. Because don't worry about the people who are going to hate. Worry about the people who are going to follow you. Because there's going to be a lot of people who love your content and will go to the end of the world for you. And there's going to be a lot of people who hate on you no matter what you say. You can say all the right things and people are going to still hate on you because the right things might not be the right things to other people. Don't worry about being super polished. Just get good content out there about stuff that you value. So we've already touched on this briefly, but you obviously want to make sure that all of your social media platforms and all of the items that you have in your office all sync when it comes to branding. Your YouTube content, your Instagram content, your Facebook content, all of the content you have across all of the social media platforms, all of that should be congruent across the board. Like, you should have the same branding across the board. Your pens, your notepads, your email signatures, your voicemail, your sign, your flags for open houses, whatever it is, all that kind of stuff should be all the same, right? Like, it all should match. So when you're coming up with your brand, this would be a great time for you to say, if I want to start over with my brand, what would it be? If I was going to start over, ignore everything you have today and just start over. Because a lot of you guys are like, well, I already have something. I don't know if I want to change everything, blah, blah, blah. Just start over for an example. Play the game for a second, okay? Start from scratch and say, okay, if I was going to create X brand, what would I want it to look like? Maybe you have a new logo, maybe you create a new website, maybe you create all new social media platforms, maybe whatever it is, right? Like, maybe you get all new for sale signs, or you get stickers just to lay over them just to save yourself some money, whatever it is, right? Like, I know I've done that in the past. Whatever that looks like, make sure that you just drill it down to like bare bones. What do I want my brand to look like? How do I want to be remembered? If all you had was your social media content to be remembered by, how would you be remembered right now? I mean, think about how crazy that is. Like for a lot of us, we don't have some legacy company that's created right now. So if you were to pass away today, how would you want to be remembered? That's the type of content that you should be putting out in the world. That's how you need to be holding yourself. That's the brand that you want to be creating, right? Like if your kids could see you in 20 years, they're only going to see what you've left behind in this earth, right? Which will probably be a lot of maybe social media content and maybe a lot of the materialistic things you have still left. That's all you're going to have to be remembered. So you're going to want to make sure that it represents what you want to create in this world, the change you want to create in this world, the brand you want to create in this world. So again, when you're breaking down all your social media profiles, it's very, very crucial that you're breaking down each of these platforms and then having a specific content strategy around them. Because the way Instagram works is different than Facebook, that's different from TikTok, that's different from YouTube, that's different from LinkedIn, right? Like all these are very, very different. And if you're treating them all the same way, you're not going to be growing at the pace that you probably should. It's the same thing with email marketing versus mailers. Like it's all going to be different types of content, right? So you're going to have to play to that type of role. First, we've already chosen the niche. What do you want to be remembered for? What is your brand? What do you want to create around that? Once you've got that down, now you want to come up with like, okay, for TikTok and Instagram and for YouTube and for LinkedIn, like how do you want your profile to look? You want to make sure it matches the brand and aligns with the brand that you want to create and make sure they all are somewhat congruent, like we've been talking about here, right? So you don't want to have your Facebook, all like the parts about your description, like about who you are, be so different from what it says on LinkedIn versus so different from how it looks on TikTok and so different from how it looks on Instagram. It just doesn't make any sense. You want them all to be the same. Same with your website. If you have a website, you don't want that to be completely different. You want them all to be the same because no matter where someone goes to try to find you and your services, you want to make sure they get all the same content across the board, because this is very, very common where someone will try to look up your content and someone sees you on Facebook possibly or hears about you from whatever. One person might Google you. One person might find you on Facebook. One person might find your website. One person might see your for sale sign, and if they all look different, they're all gonna have different experiences, and you don't want that to happen. So you wanna have this congruent content strategy across the entire board. This way, everything is congruent. So the last thing I'm gonna say when it comes to your branding is that this is a very crucial piece that will also forever and always change, and it's okay to adjust it, but knowing that like Apple, think differently. And it's like the Apple logo where like now they make sleek, like if you think about it, they make sleek designed, great pieces of technology. They really want high quality technology. That's what they're known for. What are you known for in the real estate world? Is it actually something specific? Or do you just think like, oh, well, people just know me as a real estate agent who helps with real estate? Okay, well, that's great, right? You want to be specific. Like, what do you want to be known for in this niche? It's very crucial that you pay attention. Like, by the way, you could ask your professionals and say like, hey, just doing a survey, love some feedback. When you hear my name, what is the first few things that come to mind? How do you, like, can you look at my branding for a second? Do you mind if you look at my social media? Do you mind, like, send it to your professional partners that you have, like the people you most love and trust and appreciate their feedback. Send it to all of them and say like, what would you change about my branding? Like, what are you hearing me say in these videos? What do you feel when you watch my content? Like, what do you think about when you see my content, my brand, my logo? See, ask them questions because it's important to get that type of feedback. I do this all the time. Like, hey, like, what'd you think of this video? Like, hey, like, what do you think about this, and this? I want to get feedback. Like my for sale signs, my business cards, my website, like all that type of stuff. I'm always trying to improve. I hope you enjoyed this video. Continue to rewatch this type of stuff. We have a lot more content on YouTube as well. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next module. Take care. If you're getting massive value out of this video and you want to work with me personally, make sure you check out the first link in the description down below and schedule your free consultation with myself and my team.